All right. Welcome to the world of endless possibilities with Mr. AI, the ultimate answer to all your burning questions. Get ready to discover a whole new dimension of knowledge and creativity with the power of AI at your fingertips. All right. So today we're going to be talking about some large language models, right? And things like ChatGPT, you're never going to be lost for words and ideas again, right? So let's dive in and kind of figure out how those work and how that's happening. So what we're going to do today is we're going to go over how to work with large language models. But first, we're going to kind of go over here of how large language models work. All right. So the large language models are functions that map text to text. Now, given input string of text, and a large language model predicts the text that should come next. Now, the magic of large language models is that by being trained to minimize this prediction error over a vast quantity of text, the models end up learning concepts useful for these predictions, and a variety of things that they learn how to spell, how grammar works, how to paraphrase, how to answer questions, how to hold a conversation, how to write in many languages. They even learn how to code, right? I mean, it goes on and on and on. These things capture data pretty good. Now, none of the capabilities are explicitly programmed in. They all emerge, so what that means, they all start coming to the surface as a byproduct of this training, right? Now, GPT-3 powers hundreds of software products. All right, including productivity apps, education apps, games, and more. So let's go in and explain a little bit more on how to control these large language models. Now, out of all the inputs to a large language model, by far the most influential is the text prompt, okay? Large language models can be prompted to produce output in a few ways, right? There's instruction, and that's where you're going to tell the model what you want. There's completion. That's when you're going to induce the model to complete the beginning of what you want. And then there's a demonstration, right? That's when you're going to show the model what you want with either a few examples in the prompt or, a couple thousand examples in a fine-tuning data training set. Now, an example of each is about to be gone over. So we're going to start with the instruction prompt, right? Now, instruction prompts or instruction following models like Text DaVinci 3 or any model beginning with text are specifically designed to follow instructions, okay? So you write your instruction at either the top of the prompt or the bottom. You can put them in the middle. Do what works for you. And the model will do its best to follow the instructions and then stop. Instructions can be detailed, so don't be afraid to write a paragraph explicitly detailing the output you want. An example below here, we are asking it to extract the name of the author from the quote below. We show the quote and the information as the quote and the author, and then ChatGPT is able to infer. It understands what to pull out, and it gives you Ted Ching. All right. Now, again, that was an example of an instruction prompt. All right. It's very direct, very simple. Most people are using that all the time, anyways. Right. The next thing that we're going to be dealing with is the completion prompt. All right. And here's the completion prompt example. All right. Completion prompts take advantage of how large language models actually try to write text they think is most likely to come next. Okay. So to steer the model, try beginning a pattern or sentence that will be completed by the output you want to see, right? So, relative to direct instructions, this mode of steering large language models can take on more care and experimentation. In addition, the models won't necessarily know where to stop. So you're often going to need to stop sequences or let it know when you want to cut it off, or you may actually just have to hit stop generating at a certain point, because it allows it to be quite open ended. Here's an example of a completion prompt. So we have the quote that we used the first time, right? And this time we say, the author of this quote is, and that is enough information for the machine learning model to kind of check in its data and say, okay, it's taking all those words, and what is the most likely set of data that should be coming after this, that you've instructed, and what's the answer? Ted Chang, right there. All right. And then the last but not least, we have the demonstration prompt, and it's also known as few shot learning. Out of all the prompts here, this is going to be the one. This is going to be your saving grace, right? If you learn how to use this, this is really powerful. We'll actually be taking this and going on further with some real prompts in the next video, but this would kind of give you an idea of what to look forward to. Demonstration prompts are examples, right? Similar to completion style prompts, demonstrations can show the model what you want it to do, right? So this approach is sometimes called few shot learning, as the model learns from a few examples that you provide in the prompt, right? So this is where you can feel free to make a long prompt that gives examples, that gives parameters, that gives and if type conditions. Okay, and the more concise that you fold that together and you put it to the machine, you're the higher the chance that you're going to get what you're looking for. So right here we have the quote, right? So we have, when the reasoning mind is forced to confront the impossible again and again, it has no choice but to adapt, right? That's by N.K. Jemisin. That's the 5th season by author N.K. Jemisin. The quote, right? We lay it out there. We place for prompting. We completely leave out the author, right? So we've given it an example of what we want, and then we've shown it an example with things missing, right? And now the machine learning model is going to compare those demonstrations, right? And it's going to see the differences, and that's what it's going to note. And in this case, it is the output again as the author. Last one for the thing is the fine-tuned prompt example. Most people, I don't think, really deal with these, but you should. The fine-tune, with enough training examples, you can actually fine-tune a custom model. In this case, instructions become unnecessary as the model can learn from the task, from the training of the data provided. However, it can be helpful to include separate sequences. So that's, like putting, comma, slashes, lesser, greater than, hashtags, etc., or any string that doesn't commonly appear in your inputs. And that's to tell the model when and where the prompt has ended and where like your output should begin. All right. And without any kind of separator sequencing, there's a risk that the model will continue to elaborating on the input text that you provided, rather than giving you the answer that you want to see. Okay. So the example of the fine-tuned prompt, right, has been custom trained on a similar prompt pair. So here we go. Some humans theorize that intelligent species go extinct before they can expand into outer space. If they're correct, then the hush of the night sky is the silence of the graveyard. And that's by Ted Chang. Right? Installation and output. So right here, we put hashtag where Ted should go. The computer understands and it autopates. This type of stuff is really good when you start using models for things that are going towards automation processes, right? Because that's where this is best going to fit in. When it learns the desired material so well that it just goes on to automation, right? So you're not going to deal with this as much with things like ChatGPT, etc. But you're going to see more of this incorporated down the road as large language models continue to evolve. And then as you see kind of like the peeling back of the neural networks and everything kind of getting merged back together as a uniformal product as opposed to, you know, slivers of its personality being hucked out at a cost. That's about it for this video. You know, hopefully you enjoyed it. If you learned something, if you liked the video, please leave a comment down there for me so I know that there's something going on. It also will help me with YouTube engagement. Like, subscribe, help the channel grow. I'll see you next time. Bye. You know, I feel bad because I almost forgot. Right here I am. I'm about to buckle up shop and stop video for the night, and I realized we didn't even touch code capabilities. Right. So let's go over that. Now, large language models aren't only great at text, but they can be great at code too. OpenAI's specialized code model is called Codex, right? Now we're out of that stage. Now I think they call it Playground or whatever. But Codex powers more than 70 products, including GitHub Copilot, Pygma, Replit, Warp, Machine. Note that unlike instruction following text models, e.g. Text DaVinci 2, Codex is not trained to follow instructions, right? So you're not going to be able to chat with the Codex. But what you are going to be able to do is instruct it to write code to perform a certain function, and it's going to be able to execute on that. But if you ask it, you know, what it thinks about tacos or to write you a story, it's just going to look at you like you're stupid, you know? Your carrot's just going to blink, you know? You get a nothing. But more prompt advice would be, you know, in general, the input prompt is the best lever for improving model outputs. And you can always try tricks, right? Give it more explicit instructions. For an example, if you want the output to be a comma-separated list, ask it to return a comma-separated list. If you want it to say, I don't know, when it doesn't know the answer, tell it, say, I don't know, if you don't know the answer. Supply better examples, right? If you're demonstrating examples in your prompt, make sure that your examples are diverse and high quality. Ask the model to answer as if it was an expert, right? Like role playing. So explicitly asking the model to produce high quality outputs or outputs as if it was written as an expert can induce the model to give higher quality answers, all right? That it thinks the expert would write, e.g. The following answer is correct, high quality, and written by an expert. And the last thing is you can have the prompt or the prompt model write down a series of steps explaining its reasonings, right? And you can have it basically explain like I'm 5. Now, those tricks, and again, we're going to go more into that later on. The reason those kind of things become so powerful is because you kind of set an environment around the language model that you're asking it to, one, recognize, right? And so it's kind of building this whole virtual environment in a way, right? If you imagine it like that, although, you know, there's some stretch with where I'm going, but bear with me. And then now it's in this environment, and now you're asking it for things as if it's already there, right? So that's going to reduce, you know, the fail rate. It's going to gain compliance with getting the machine model to, you know, talk about or engage in a conversation or on a subject that it otherwise may, you know, try to drop out on you on. All right, that is the end of today's video.